This is a Dragon Blazer production.
This is Unsolved Comedy.
This podcast has been hijacked by Stefan. Welcome to Unsolved Comedies. I take control in this episode. I'm your host, Stefan, and my co-host is Kazaya.
Hi. You're being very aggressive with this hostile takeover of my podcast.
That's right. I am hostiling taking over this podcast because this episode is on UFOs.
He's really nerdy and he wanted to have full control over the UFO episode, and I was like, okay, sure.
I get the supernatural shit. All right, so first off, UFOs mean unidentified flying object. That doesn't necessarily mean it's an alien spacecraft. However, this one seems like it might be an alien spacecraft.
And to be completely fair, we should also address the fact that unidentified flying objects can a lot of times be aircrafts from another country's government or another country's military that the U.S., because the U.S. is like the only place that UFOs seem to be so popular.
Based on statistics, 97% of UFOs can be explained away, but there's still 3% where they cannot. This is one of the 3%.
Okay.
All right, so first off, let's talk to Kazaya about UFOs. What are your thoughts on aliens and UFOs?
I am a very analytical person, and I think that's something that's come across very well with our previous podcasts, as I don't like to go off of anything that isn't evidence. I don't like to go off of hearsay. Literally, we argued 30 minutes before this podcast started about
since I've taken over Kazaya's sideways on this podcast.
We're trying out a new Zoom call podcast style so that we can begin to put our podcasts up on YouTube for you guys to actually view instead of just listen to, because sometimes you'd rather watch something.
Which I have already started. I have our first episode, Mystery on the Rooftop, on YouTube as of right now.
Dragon Blazer production YouTube channel. Give it a listen. But as you know, I'm just very analytical. I'm very much the type of person that only goes off of things that are objective fact. So,
I hate this episode.
I know. I know. That's why I didn't want to cover it. That's why I gave it to you. But because of that, I believe it's possible that aliens exist. I am a very scientific person. I'm an agnostic person. So what that means is I don't believe that there's enough evidence to believe in God, and there's not enough evidence to not believe in God. But that doesn't mean that I don't pray, obviously, because I was raised religious. So there are certain things that I do that are outside of that. But I'm an agnostic person, and a lot of agnostic people tend to believe in aliens because it's an easy explanation away as to why we wouldn't believe in God, which I don't understand. Aliens are God. I don't understand the argument, but it's an argument. So I'm just like, could they exist? Sure, they could exist, but there's no concrete evidence. There's no proof. We've never found any signs of life in outer space. And we've used cameras and all kinds of things. And one would assume that they either have to literally, these aliens that are using UFOs in our atmosphere, they either literally have to have hyper jump, like Han Solo's Millennium Falcon, or it takes them millions of years to get to and from their planet because there's no signs of life in our immediate solar system. And even from here to Pluto, it's a couple thousand light years away. So it's just, not something that I see a lot of evidence for. So I'm a skeptical person when it comes to aliens.
Well, first off, what I'm going to say is 100% aliens exist.
Oh, Jesus.
100%. Because as a God-fearing man, there is absolutely no way, in my opinion, that there are this many universes, this many solar systems, or I guess it's one universe, this many solar systems, and we are the only life form in the entire universe, the entire galaxy. 100%.
That's an odd argument, because a lot of religious people that I talk to, and this is not a generalization, I'm just saying a lot of conversations that I personally have had with religious people, they tend to be like, well, we know that aliens don't exist because God doesn't talk about them in the Bible, and that means that he focused all of his time and energy on creating us.
I mean,
so like he Bible, created the universe for us to look at, basically, is how most religious people I've talked to feel about it.
I mean, they talk about giants in the Bible. I mean, they talk about all kinds of mythical creatures in the Bible. I mean, I don't know. They also don't really talk about dinosaurs, but we have bones that suggest that they did exist. So
that I will agree with you on. Like I said, there are some people that believe if it's not in the Bible, it's not true. And then there's some people like me personally. And that's the other thing, is I'm not necessarily agnostic in the way that I don't believe in God, but I don't believe in the Bible. Like, I believe in God, I pray, but I don't believe in the Bible. And the reason I don't believe in the Bible is because there's so many things outside of the Bible that we have evidence for. We have evidence for evolution. We have evidence for dinosaurs. We have evidence for really odd creatures that lived millions of years ago, and we don't have any evidence to suggest a flood. So that's where I kind of agree with you that, like, no, the Bible doesn't talk about it, but we still have evidence of it. But to some people, they just believe that if it's not in the Bible, it didn't happen. It's all fabricated.
Well, I guess bringing up God was a mistake on this situation. Just personally, my opinion is we have a huge, infinite amount of galaxy out there, multiple solar systems. There is no way in my belief that there isn't life out there. Now, whether that life is so technologically advanced they can make it to America or to Earth, I don't know if
do you think they
100% sure.
Do you think that they have Han Solo's hyper jump? I'm just curious. I'm just wondering.
Okay.
I just wondered.
It's possible. Look at how fast our technology works right now. How quickly, like, doing this, a Zoom call and putting it on the internet like this was hardly heard of years ago. Our technology has advanced so quickly, so fast, and there's no telling how fast somebody else's technology advanced.
I will tell you this. If they have Han Solo's hyper jump, I'm gonna completely ignore the Bible for the rest of eternity and just use Star Wars as a history book.
Star Wars is your new religion.
Star Wars as a history book. That's it.
May the Force be with you.
Yes.
But then there's also the possibility, because as a human species, the only place we've managed to make it to is the moon. We haven't even made it to Mars. A human being has not made it to Mars.
Let me tell you this, as somebody that does a lot of scientific research. How you doing? We have the technology to get there.
To get cameras and stuff.
We would. Now, the thing is that a lot of the technology from the moon landing, and this is something that a lot of conspiracy theorists like to jump on, but I can easily explain that away. A lot of the technology was lost. The technology wasn't actually lost. That's just the term that NASA uses for it. But the technology was scrapped because it was technologically and financially ineffective. So it was too expensive to keep doing. And it was at the time, it was quickly being run over by other, hi Gizmo, it was quickly being run over by other technological advances. So could the technology be created again to get to the moon?
Ow.
Yes.
Damn.
But
Get off my computer.
He's like, please pay attention to me. But the reason that we don't have that technology anymore is because it wasn't cost effective, and it wasn't something that they could keep improving on. With the amount of money that it took to make it, they couldn't keep improving on that idea.
My argument wasn't so much that we should have been able to make it to Mars by now. It's more of, we haven't fully even explored our planets in our own solar system, and it's very possible, some kind of alien creature could be living on them. Yes, we've had different things sent out. We've had cameras sent out, but that doesn't completely investigate a planet.
Well, and on your point there, not to say that Martians exist, but
Martians
there is
would only
evidence.
be from Mars. But
yes, well, that's why I'm talking about them. Mars is said to have centuries ago, or millennia ago, been able to inhabit life. There's evidence of water having been there, and one of the reasons that they're trying to work on the technology that's a little bit more cost effective to send people to Mars is because they want to get up there, because they think there might actually be proof that there was once life on that planet. So you're not completely wrong.
I'm not
aliens could exist, but
I'm not making any facts. And I know another one of the big arguments with the aliens existing in our solar system is that we don't have any what they call a Goldilocks planet, where it's not too hot, not too cold.
Right. Well, like I said, Mars would have Mars a very long time ago could have been in the same position as Earth, or it could have been closer to the Earth, or it could have honestly, Mars millennia ago could have looked a lot different. So Mars would have been a life-supporting planet if things were just a little different.
My argument for that, on whether aliens could exist based on the temperature and all that stuff, is we have creatures that can live in volcanoes and stuff. We have creatures that adapt to
Hang on a second. I will agree with you that we have creatures that can live in extreme conditions, like deep and underwater, such as the Marianas Trench, which is extremely cold. Never heard of a creature living in a volcano, though. Just,
1 second.
Gonna Google it, you guys. Gonna Google it. You're gonna have to shut your cat up, man. I can't.
I thought I was just reading about some kind of volcano sharks. That could have been fake, though. It was the internet.
I think that was fake. What would they eat? They literally would be living in an ecosystem that has nothing else living in it, so therefore it's nothing for them to feed on. No way for them to get oxygen, because lava is not water. It's literally melted down rock, so how are they going to get oxygen from that? I think that was fake. Hate to tell you, buddy.
Well, let's see, look up volcano sharks, because this is exactly what I want in my life. These sharks thrive inside an underwater volcano. National Geographic.
An underwater volcano is different, though. An underwater volcano allows them to come out of the volcano and eat things in the ecosystem around them.
Okay. But
so it's different than the way you said it. It sounded like we had some kind of volcano spider.
I didn't say they lived inside the lava
volcano
or anything.
that killed Pompeii. Like that's the way it sounded.
I'm saying that we have creatures that have adapted to extreme conditions, and for all we know, any kind of aliens that are out there could have adapted to their extreme conditions. It's just life adapts.
So do we not assume that they're the tall gray things with big eyes then? Are we assuming that that's not that?
I mean, possibly. I would love to see a gray alien.
I guess that for me, aliens are just so out there because there's so many fake videos of aliens. Like literally, there's supposedly an autopsy of an alien on YouTube, but I've read so many articles about that being faked that like literally we have all these videos that claim to be aliens, but then like there's a bunch of people that debunk it. So like there's no evidence for aliens that hasn't been debunked yet, I guess. It's like why
people Photoshop lies and fake things all the time. I mean, just because there are fake things out there does not mean that there's also something out there that's true. All it takes is one true thing out there to counter all the fake. I'm not saying they were debunked. I get that.
I'm not saying, like, the only reason, like I said, that I don't think that aliens exist is because every single thing on aliens that I have seen has been debunked a bunch of times.
Like I said.
It's the same thing to me as flat earthers. And, like, I think you're more intelligent than a flat earther, don't get me wrong.
No.
I'm just saying it's the same type of argument. You get what I'm saying? Because it's been debunked so many times.
Flat earthers don't make sense to me. But
I literally
when it comes to aliens, like I said, I can't 100% say that aliens have managed to make it to Earth. That creatures from outside, intelligent creatures from outside Earth has made it to Earth. However, what I am saying is, in this entire solar system, if we ever got the technology to go farther than the moon, I think it's 100% possible. And I think 100% somewhere out there is life. Whether that life is technologically advanced to make it to Earth, there's life out there.
Not saying you're wrong. Like I said, there's definitely planets out there that could probably support life. You have to think that there's lots of solar systems out there. There's probably 12 million planet Earths out there. Not to say that they're exactly planet Earths, but there's probably 12 million life-supporting planets just within the 2 or 3 galaxies that are close by the Milky Way galaxy, like the Andromeda galaxy, and there's a couple of other galaxies. But
yeah, I believe we've even found Goldilocks planets. We've even found planets outside of our solar system that could sustain life. We just don't have the technology to know for a fact if they do sustain life. Yes. But I'm telling you right now, 100%, you heard it here first, there's life out there.
He believes in aliens.
Well, life outside of our galaxy is what I'm saying. That's not necessarily the gray aliens, although I want some gray aliens.
I really hope there's a lot of Anakin-looking aliens out there because he was my favorite. And technically, he was an alien.
Fair enough. All right, so do you want me to save it for the end, or do you want me to start off by giving you some history on UFOs throughout history?
Let's work the history and where it's relevant.
Oh no!
So
I have
go
a
ahead.
list. I have a list where I'm
okay. Do you remember when we did the first episode and I talked about the history of the Belvedere when it was becoming relevant to the Belvedere? Well, that's what I'm saying.
The problem is this entire story is just one long people talking about UFOs.
To be completely fair, I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to this episode.
Yeah, I know.
I didn't really like the coverage of it personally, because it was all heirssay. But I guess what are you gonna do? It's all hearsay. It was aliens in the 1960s. So
we haven't proven aliens exist, so nobody's gonna have credible evidence. But it is.
I mean, there's plenty.
It's called a witness phenomenon, is what this is.
Just saying. But I didn't pay a whole lot of attention. All I remember really is them saying that some kid got abducted and that there was a big bright light that made no sound.
Yes, Tom Warner.
I don't know. He looked like Donald Trump with hair. Like Donald Trump with hair that wasn't fake. Like this guy is Donald Trump if he got a hair transplant. Okay. So
well,
but if you would like to do the history first, that way we kind of understand where we're going.
Now you haven't watched the video
abduction.
that I have you prepped up yet,
no,
right?
I have it prepped. It's on my TV.
Okay, so we will start out with the history.
Okay.
All right, so aliens, UFOs, specifically UFOs, because there isn't a lot. I mean, there's a lot of like theories and people believing things. Like there's theories out there that aliens came to Earth and helped like the Egyptians create the pyramids and like there's
which is is completely bullshit. Like I would just like to address that argument. Yes, I've heard that argument. That argument mainly comes from people that believe. It's a very small group of people, but it comes from people that believe that the top, like the point of the pyramid, is older than the bedrock of the pyramid, which has never been proven. In fact, it's been proven otherwise, but that's where that argument comes from. So that one's bullshit. That one...
all of it's technically, I mean, for all we know, is bullshit. I will say that that's kind of the things. There was a book I really wanted to write, and I've never got around to writing it because I don't write very often, and I kind of hate my writing. So,
I'll read your aliens book. I'll read your aliens book, Steve.
Well, it's an aliens book, a Bermuda Triangle book, Atlantis book. I have this whole cockamamie idea in my head that
remind me after the recording that I should show you a couple of videos of a guy who is debunked by a YouTuber named Professor Stick, and he goes on and on about this guy's videos. He's a scientist. He's a scientist. He has a biology major.
He sounds like a cheesy villain in a Marvel comic. I am Professor Stick. I will take care. I would have gotten away with it if it weren't for these meddling kids.
Okay, thank you. No, he's got a degree in biology, so he debunks a lot of like flat earthers' claims and stuff. But there's a guy that actually believes that Atlantis was real and has completely rewritten our history to include Atlantis as like the birth point for all humans. So remind me to show you that because I think you'd get a kick out of it.
I will. I don't really want to tell my story idea on the podcast, but I'll have to tell you the story idea I had. Okay. That deals with Atlantis, and I do believe that Atlantis is possible.
Atlantis is definitely possible, but not the way that this guy puts
do you
out
know
there. He literally has created a whole religion around the fact that Atlanteans are like the basis of human history, and it's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of. I can't even remember what it's called.
Well,
but
wait till I tell you my story, because I have my own theories on Atlanteans.
Okay.
But it's more based on a story that I came up with, not actual theories.
Okay.
But
let's
Atlantis...
recenter, and I'm going to watch this video.
Wait. Let me get to this first, okay. And then I will tell you when to watch the video. So these are UFO sightings. The oldest recorded sighting of UFOs that I could find was from 1440 BC, ancient Egypt, in the Ptolus Papyrus. The scribes of Pharaoh Thutmose III reported fiery disk over the skies in this papyrus.
Is that papyrus like the papyrus from Undertale? Is that the skeleton-y papyrus? Undertale is a video game.
Papyrus is like an old scroll from back then.
I was making a joke because since you're telling this
is your job now to tell jokes. Okay. Good luck with that.
That's where all the Star Wars things were going as well, were also jokes, but I guess that you just didn't get them, so it's fine. I'm not funny. I'm not. This is why I normally control the cases, guys, because I am not funny at all.
All right. In 74 BC, Phrygia, Asia. I'm probably saying that wrong. According
Sounds
to
like
Plutarch,
Craig trying to pronounce my name.
Craig doesn't try. According to Plutarch, a Roman army commanded by Lucilius was about to begin battle with Mithridates, son of a bitch, of Pontus. The sky burst asunder, and a huge flame-like body was seen to fall between the two armies. Said it was shaped like a silver wine jar. Both armies claimed to have seen it.
Is that the Goblet of Fire? The Goblet of Fire, maybe like Ron's flying car. Maybe they turned the car invisible, and the Goblet of Fire didn't turn invisible with it. Looks like a silver wine glass.
I can't argue that. 1561, Nuremberg, Holy Roman Empire. These are all from like books and like pirates.
To be completely fair, and I'm gonna rain on your parade a little bit. The Romans did hella drugs, and they were always drunk. Fair enough. How likely is it that any of this is real? Just was throwing that out there.
Well, this is from
continue.
This is from an entire residency of people. Residents claimed to see what they described as an aerial battle, followed by an appearance of a large black triangular object, and then a large crash outside of the city. The broad sheet claims that witnesses observed hundreds of spheres, cylinders, and other odd-shaped objects that moved erratically overhead. Now we get into more modern stories.
Like Roswell, right?
Well, not yet. Almost. So first, we're going to talk about World War II.
Okay, you asked me a question about this last night, and I do not know what it is. Don't even ask me again. Just go ahead and tell me.
All right. So, do you know the band Foo Fighters?
I do. Familiar with their work. Good stuff.
They are. I love that band. Did you know that the name Foo Fighters is based on aliens, UFOs?
I am not surprised. They seem like they would do that kind of thing.
World War II fighter pilots saw small metallic spheres and colorful balls of light repeatedly spotted and occasionally photographed worldwide by bomber crews. They called them Foo Fighters.
Why?
I can't remember. I think there is a story behind why they called them Foo Fighters. But
were they like doing kung fu in the sky?
FOO, not kung fu.
No, I know, but maybe they were eating food while they were doing it, and somebody just forgot the D at the end.
Maybe they were making fun. I mean, they could have been making fun of the Japanese that they were currently fighting against.
That's true.
This is World War II.
I mean, to be completely fair, if this was any time after Pearl Harbor, that's probably literally what it was. And they were like, hey.
But yes, there is wide reports of World War II fighter pilots seeing these weird metallic spheres. In 1947, Ken Arnold, north of Mount Rainier, Washington, USA. This is the sighting that was the start of modern UFOs, and where we come up with the term flying saucers.
Okay.
1947, a little bit after that.
Sure.
Huh?
I think flying saucers are bullshit, but sure.
Well, it's a term, and it started from this guy, Ken Arnold.
I'm just saying.
1947, Roswell, New Mexico. People believe they saw
this is the one I know a little bit about.
Yes. People believe they saw a crashed UFO with aliens in it. The government, they originally called it a flying saucer, but then changed their stance and claimed that it was a crashed weather balloon. In 1994, the Air Force admitted the weather balloon story was cockamamie bullshit. or as
Okay.
the thing I read said,
well,
bogus.
okay, so I wonder what it was, because that sounds really similar to a sighting of UFOs that they covered on a show called Fact or Faked, which was really big in like 2012. I remember watching it. They covered all kinds of ghost stories and aliens. But one of the videos that I remember seeing on that show, they didn't actually cover it because they didn't have a way to test to see if it was real. They saw what looked like flying saucers being transported on the back of government vehicles. So that sounds a lot like that one.
Well, their claim is it was a new spy device called Project Mogul, and that the alien bodies were explained away as fallen parachute dummies. Other theories was that it was an unconventional plane by the USSR, but there is no known records that they have found for that possibility. Nobody in the USSR has reported that they ever made a spy plane.
The USSR doesn't admit to anything.
Fair.
Hasn't ever admitted to anything.
There's also a lot of people believe that that they are lying about that still, because their argument is essentially that they were trying to say that, you know, they had to come up with the weather balloon story, and they let the UFO stories continue because the U.S. military didn't want us to know about their spy stuff.
Well, if I'm going to react to a video, I might pull up the video that I was talking about and show you that one and see what you think of that one, because they explained it away by saying they were lids for a large container. So maybe after I react to your video, you can react to a video as well. Perhaps. Because that video is one of the only videos that I've ever seen that made me say maybe flying saucers are real, because that's exactly what these things look like.
Well, a lot of people think that it's possible that even though they came forward in '94, that they were still bullshitting, because there was a nuclear test area around Roswell, not more than like a few miles away. Like, there was a lot of actual, you know, top secret stuff going on, and having everybody looking in that area was not in the government's best interest.
Right. It's very similar to the test site in Nevada where they actually tested all the atomic bombs. No, not Area 51. There's an area near Area 51 where they tested the atomic bombs prior to World War II. And they found that in the town close nearby that test area, people have been getting cancer and deformities and things of that nature for years.
I've heard about that as well. But yeah, they say that it makes no logical sense that the U.S. would actually
admit to anything.
Well, that
the U.S. is as bad as the USSR.
Well, there was so many shady things going around in New Mexico where all this was going on, that it makes no sense that they would actually allow these theories to go on unless there was something to them.
I mean, I'll be real with you. New Mexico is the kind of place, if you were going to hide, or Nevada less so. Nevada way less so. I've been to both states. And Nevada has a lot of stuff going on besides Vegas. They've got a lot of historical places and a lot of things of that nature. Area 51 to me is not where they would hide aliens. It's too high profile. It's too.
But not when it first came out, maybe.
No,
it could have
not
been
when it first came out. But if they ever kept aliens there, I assume it would have by now been moved to probably somewhere in New Mexico, because New Mexico is a fucking. There's nothing there. Like, literally, I've been to Albuquerque, and even in Albuquerque, you're like driving around, and like, if you're not on the highway, if you're not in the city, you're kind of like, there's nothing here.
I know I would like to go to Roswell, because it's essentially a tourist trap now, but they have all kinds of like alien themed stuff. Like Roswell straight up embraces the alien stuff, and I think that'd be fun
Area
to go.
51. Area 51 was cool.
Right. All right. So the last part of this I'm going to bring up are that UFO sightings are still reported to this day, And just recently, the Navy released videos of UFOs, which is the most convincing evidence. And that is the video that I'm going to have you watch. These are videos, 3 different videos from 2000, I believe, 4, and 2 of them are from 2015 that the Navy just recently released.
Gotcha. So do you need me to pause this, or would you like me to play it? Okay.
Play it and react on the show.
I will do so. I'll turn it up a little bit.
I don't think there's any talking. Oh, there is.
Yeah. So I'll just turn my volume up a little bit. Okay. It almost looks like it's a little ball, so it almost looks like maybe like it starts out as a little ball, and so it looks maybe like a thermal missile, and then it gets bigger, and it looks about the size of a bean. That one straight looks like a flying saucer. Holy shit.
Yeah, released by NASA.
Holy shit. Those are convincing videos. Let me see if I saw everything.
I will say flat out, those are official UFOs because they're unidentified flying objects.
Yeah.
Which is the actual definition of a UFO.
Okay, so they formed a reporting process in 2019 for pilots to report incidents of UFOs. There's a government way to report.
Oh, I believe government has had reports of it for years. And we just don't tell the public about these reports.
Let me see if I can find that video that I was.
Go ahead and look for it, and we'll talk about it at the end of the podcast. And I'm going to I'm going to start my coverage of the episode that we're technically supposed to be talking about.
These people are gonna they're gonna stop listening because this podcast has been nothing but bullshit at this point.
This is a supernatural. People love supernatural shit.
I'm sorry if you guys hate us talking. We literally haven't talked about the Unsolved Mysteries case at all, except for me saying I didn't like the coverage. That's it.
Well, this episode of Unsolved Mysteries is about a unexplained phenomena in Berkshire County, Massachusetts, September 1st, 1969. It starts off with a mother, I believe that was Jane Green. She said she had 2 sons, 10 and a 12-year-old. The grandma did not believe the kids. And the mother said she saw the same phenomenon as her children, but they never ever told each other until this Unsolved Mysteries came to them. And
I just have to interrupt you for a second. Excuse me, I burped. That was awful. I'm sure it got caught on audio, and I don't want to seem like gross.
So a lot of this happened in Great Barrington, Massachusetts. Jane Green, she is a prominent family because of an old, they own the oldest Rexall pharmacy. Then they talked to a guy, the one you called Donald Trump with real hair.
Donald Trump with hair, yes.
His name was Tom Warner, and he lived in the house for 6 generations since 1835. His family has owned the house for years. So Tom Warner is the guy on this show that...
Tom Warner sounds like Time Warner, which if you don't live in Ohio was the only cable provider that we had up until 2015.
Fair, fun, sure.
Remember Time Warner?
I know Time Warner. I had Time Warner.
Yeah, everybody had Time Warner because it was the only thing they had.
He looked like what you would expect a UFO person that's crazy.
Yeah, he literally looked like the redneck hicks that you automatically assume believe in aliens and flat earth and all that shit.
Then you have Tom Reed, spelled with a THOM instead of a TOM.
He looks less so. He looks
Yeah.
less so like an alien believer.
Well, he has the most interesting report in this show. He was 10 during 1969 when this happened. He's an entrepreneur. He left the city. He's a city boy. His mom left Hollis, Queens to own a restaurant called the Village Green. His mom's name is Nancy Reed. Then they talked to Melanie Kirchdorfer, a local business owner who's lived there since 1957. So they're kind of just going around and talking to all the people that have said they witnessed this phenomenon.
Right.
So these are the main
Which
people
apparently
in the
was
story.
a whole city. That's another thing that I was able to take away from the
whole-
case, is that the whole fucking town saw this shit.
Yeah.
Like literally everybody.
The whole county, it was in different cities too. Like there was reports from a whole bunch of different areas.
Yes.
That's why it says Berkshire County and not just Great Barrington, Massachusetts, because the whole county witnessed this phenomenon.
Which is super weird to me, because normally when a UFO sighting happens, it's just one crazy person. It's literally one psychotic person that's like, I got abducted and they put a probe up my butt. Like literally.
Well, no probes were talked about in this show. But Jane starts talking, saying that she, around dusk, rode in a car with her girlfriend, Mary DeGrace, who she said has since passed away. Now, mind you, this is... Now, from what I gathered, this is an old woman calling her best friend, her girl, a friend. Not like... This wasn't like a
relationship.
A romantic relationship.
Right.
Because she talks about later in the show that she has a husband. So,
right.
So this was her friend.
I mean, a lot of older women a lot of women in their 50s and up call their friends their girlfriend, because it wasn't as common back then to actually have a girlfriend. So I think you would be right in assuming so.
Well, she was actually, I think, an adult. Like she was one of the ones in the show that wasn't a child. Now you got to realize 1969, this is like 50 years ago.
Right, it is. 1969, in fact, it's more than 50 years ago. That's at the very end of the civil rights movement.
Mm-hmm.
So this is probably we're in 2020 now, so this is about 60 years ago.
It was 70s. It's literally 51 years.
Oh, well.
69, 1 year away from 70. We're in 2020. It's 51 years.
Yeah.
They were driving from Stockbridge to Great Barrington. They saw a lot of lights and thought it was the police. And they said they pulled over along with another car, thinking that there was an accident up ahead. Both of them got out of the car and saw a huge floating object. No windows, no noise, no motor, and then it lifted up and went straight over the mountain.
Now, one of the things that I do recall them saying is that she could not see the end of it from the right or from the left.
Yeah,
so this
it was
thing
huge.
was huge, like massive.
It was huge.
Big.
Right.
Well, I know, but you can say something's huge and it can be like the size of a cloud. Sometimes you have to put into perspective how big huge is.
Right. Then Tom Warner says that it was Labor Day. It was extremely hot day. He was coloring. He said that he always went to the neighbors. He was friends with the neighbor girl.
Yeah, I remember that.
Then they talked to Jane Shaw, who was the older sister of her friend, or his friend. His friend was Debbie, and Debbie's older sister, Jane Shaw, said that Tommy would always play with her sister, who was about 4 years older than him. And Tommy ran out, and it scared them both. They were just coloring, and he ran off.
Finished the coloring, and he ran outside. And then he points to, he like stands not even probably 15 feet from the front door. And he's like, I was running, and at this point, I stopped running. Well, I kept getting any further than this point.
I'm getting to that. He said he walked over to the window, and a voice told him to go home. He thought it was God. Jane says he started running in place for like 5 minutes. So he just was like, he ran outside and just was like running but not moving. He was just
right.
Yeah.
That's where he says that he hit like probably 15 feet out of the door, and then he further.
He said he felt like he was flying. He turned and he saw the UFO, and a beam came on him, and his hands jerked back. And Jane says he was gone in a flash. So he just disappeared after running in place. Melanie said that she went to the Dairy Queen by Lake Mansfield. Said she didn't want to go to the Dairy Queen.
She said she wanted to go smoke a cigarette.
Yeah, she said her and her friends would go bum cigarettes and stuff.
Well, her friend stole cigarettes from her mother, but yes.
Oh, that's right.
They would all go share a cigarette that this girl had stolen from her mother.
But instead, she went and had delicious ice cream.
Yeah, really.
Oh
damn. God. Damn.
I would take ice cream over cigarettes any day of the week.
I got ice cream in the freezer, and after this podcast is over, I'm going to eat that ice cream.
Kind of want some ice cream now. They ate by the lake the delicious ice cream. That's way better than cigarettes. Don't do cigarettes, children.
Don't do cigarettes.
Don't do cigarettes or drugs. Drugs are bad. Saw a
even if we're pretty sure that most of the people that all the Romans that saw these UFOs were all using drugs. That's why they all saw the same.
That was one account.
Just saying. I'm just saying.
Saw a bright aura, and their dad decides, you know what? I want to chase it. Just gonna chase that aura.
Of course you do.
I want to chase it. That's what the dad says. Mom claims it was like a shooting star. Get off of ice. Get off.
This is the first time that you guys are actually seeing what we've been dealing with for the past however long we've been doing this podcast. Every time we record, we have this problem with the cat.
This is episode 5.
So. We do one a week, so we've probably been doing this podcast thing for about a month. For about a month, every time we record, we've been dealing with these cats, and you guys are finally getting to see it. So,
yeah, my cat's a dick.
He is
my little alien dick cat.
He literally okay. If it tells you how much of a dick Steven's cat is, he ran out, came back, ate the treats and food that we left for him, and stayed outside for a week until he got caught in a neighbor's live trap for raccoons.
Essentially, he was a cat.
My cat's never done that. Yeah. Just saying. My cat's too fat to do that shit.
So Melanie remembers levitating and then being on a ship. Tommy claims that he saw Melanie. Said it's the only face he remembers. She said she never saw him. But she said she sees a bunch of young children and they disappeared and she gets sent back to the lake.
Right.
So for some reason, these aliens want some children. Tommy said he was laying down on his property. Now, I'm just going to tell you right now, out of all these stories, Tommy sounds the batshit
least
craziest.
Believable.
Yeah, he sounds like, he's like really into this. His brother tells him to run, but he can't. The beam holds him to the ground. And he said telepathy was like, 1 sec, buddy. 1 sec.
1 sec, buddy. 1 second. Yeah, his brother was like, run, and he was like laying on the ground. I can't run. Like,
I can't run.
I can't run. The beam's holding me down. The beam's holding me down. That's what he said. The beam was holding him down.
He said he gets up and the UFO is gone. Jane says Tommy was gone for 2 minutes. Melanie says she didn't know Tommy because she was older, but now he feels like a brother to her. Like they get a connection because they find a connection with this UFO.
Uh-huh.
Now we have the other guy, Tom. What was his last name? Not Warner. Reed. So Tom Reed was riding in a horse show, and the saddle came loose, and a few people came in to slow it down. His mom grabs him and takes him home around 9 p.m. They decide to take a shortcut home through the Sheffield Bridge.
Right.
He was with his younger brother, his mom, and his grandma. His younger brother was in the back seat with him, and apparently Tommy tried to give his brother a fireball. His children just love to give their little brothers burning candy.
I mean, I used to do that shit to my sister, just to piss her off, because she'd had it, and like I remember like she had it and she was trying to be all big and bad. People do that to their brothers and sisters.
His grandma says no, he could totally choke. Grandma doesn't let him have a fireball. It's very, very important to the story. This fireball is the key to everything.
I mean, fireball alcohol is the key to everything.
Fair enough. She says he's too young to have that fireball. He's gonna choke. She turned around.
He might be too young to have that fireball. Maybe it wasn't the candy. Maybe it was like,
an actual fireball. It was like fucking Mario up in the air and just throwing fireballs back and right. He grabbed himself a fire flower. All right.
Grandma's like, he's gonna burn himself.
She turned around and said she saw lights rising over the Housatonic River. As they exited the bridge, there was a light ball hovering 2 stories high. As it rose, it fired these rods of light. As everyone focused on the light, his brother turned to the right and saw an orange orb. And he said it had like a roll to it, and it was like moving and turning like it was a wave in the ocean. So they said the atmosphere changed. Said it felt like they were underwater, like there was a pressure change.
I mean, I wonder if maybe they like happened to be driving through the mountains. That would explain a pressure change. If they were driving through the mountains, like I don't know how many times you've driven through the mountains, but I know you've gone to Georgia with your cousin. And like whenever I drive to Georgia, to prepare, like whenever I have to go down there to do something for the move, I always have to pop my ears because there's a pressure change and it feels like my ears are underwater. So I pop my nose and
they did say there was mountains nearby. Sure. Let's debunk this. They started looking for the light, and then the mother notices the thing in the sky. A disc-shaped object hovering, turned. Nancy described it like a turtle shell. Turtle. And it was like, am I not turtle enough for the turtle club? That's what the turtle shell said. I could be wrong. I might have heard that wrong. And it turned sideways and looked at it. And in the middle, there was this different type of ridge to the middle. Tom says the craft was 100 yards. And the car lit up, like it was like there was floodlights inside the car. So it was so bright it felt like it was daylight inside the car. It was deadly silent, and then chirping was heard, and that's the last thing Nancy remembers. They said that it felt like 15 minutes, and it was actually 3 hours of time that they lost.
I don't know. To me, it's weird that they lost time. Like, to the aliens drug you? They giving you roofies or something.
Well, that's a popular
UFO
thing.
I know that they lose
with
time.
Abductions. with abductions, like it feels like it was only like 10 minutes and they were gone like for a day or something. That's a popular thing during UFO abductions.
Every time that I hear that shit, it just makes me think of the South Park episode where Cartman gets abducted by aliens. Like, that's just when they're like, we lost 3 days of time. I'm like, okay.
And then Scott Baio gave him pink eye. They said they have no memory of the lost time. The next thing Nancy remembers is coming to in front of a drugstore. And they noticed that her mother was in the driver's seat, and she was in the passenger seat, which was the opposite of how they were. Nancy was driving, her mother was next to her in the passenger, and they switched. Almost like the aliens were trying to put them back to normal, and they just
fucked it up a little bit.
They just kind of dozed off, but aliens can't tell the difference between women. You know, all women look the same.
So am I gonna take this road? Are aliens racist and sexist then? Because all women look the same. All white women look the same.
Absolutely. They're specious. They don't like our species.
They're like, all these humans look the same.
Anal probe them. Probe those anuses. I don't like them.
I don't like them.
Probe the anus.
Do you think they get out of? Do you think they get anything out of the people that they've supposedly probed, or are they just probing them just for shits and giggles,
they just really
for fun?
They like some anal fun.
Anal probing. They like butt stuff.
They just like butt stuff. You heard it here first. Aliens just like butt stuff.
Aliens just like butt stuff, man.
We could probably send them to some women that would be cool with it, or men.
I could. I'm really having to hold myself because I know of some of the people that I know have dated, and I'm just like, maybe we could send them that way.
Continuing, Jane claims that she was a non-believer before all this stuff. She said she told her husband what happened and her husband told her to tell the radio station. So she goes to the director of WSBS, Tom J. And Tom's just like, you must have been drinking again. Damn drunks.
Damn drugs.
Says it must have been swamp gas. Jane says, no, it's no swamp gas. Damn it.
Damn it. She sounds like a Karen. It's not swamp gas.
That's not swamp gas.
Let me talk to your manager.
Tom J. Well, she went to the manager of the broadcasting place. She went to the radio.
She did.
She went to the radio. I want to talk to your manager about my ass and anal probing. Tom J.
It was the aliens.
It was the alien. No, Jane. You just liked it up the booty. Just a whore. Just kidding. Sorry, Jane, if you listen. This is just a joke.
Is she also on the cover of Crack Whore magazine with Cartman's mom? I'm sorry. We are we're trying to respect the case.
Money.
We try to respect these cases as much as possible. But when we talked about starting this podcast, one of the things that we noticed is that a lot of true crime and mystery podcasts can be really boring because they're just sitting there relaying information that you've heard on 12 different podcasts. We wanted to be able to have a little bit of fun with this podcast.
I mean,
we're trying to keep.
We're fine.
Yeah, we're trying to keep it. I don't want these people to be like.
If you're listening and not expecting us to make fun of anal rape in a UFO story, then you're listening to the wrong podcast.
Yeah, sorry guys. I know this is the only Unsolved Mystery podcast out there right now, but you guys are just going to have to deal with anal probing.
It's not the only one. It's the only one that I've found so far that is covering the new series.
Yeah, but...
there's, I listened to a Resolved podcast where they go through the original Unsolved Mystery. Well,
I'm talking about specifically the new version of the show.
Yeah. To my knowledge, I haven't found it, but I haven't checked since we
Unfortunately
started.
for you guys, you're stuck with us, and you have to listen to jokes about anal probing. I'm sorry.
Well, they
Anal
don't
probing
have
and
to.
butt stuff.
They probably just shut it off right now. They're like, well, no, I fucking don't.
I don't have to wear a mask.
Click this bullshit.
That's literally the anti-masker. I don't have to wear a mask. I woke up in a free country. Click.
That's right. I thought this was America. This is America. Tom J. was a broadcaster from 1942 to 2012. Tom Reed said shortly after Jane talked to him, he got calls from other people. There was so many that he called the police department to see if they got calls as well. He asked over the air if anyone else knew where it was, and the calls came from many. Many neighboring towns by groups of people who have never even met each other.
It's just, I don't know. You know how I am. There's no definitive proof, so aliens didn't do this.
Jesse Stewart, brand manager of WSBS, said he was born in 1983, so he wasn't even part of any of this shit, wasn't even thought of. And feels with so many witnesses that they can't be lying. Said, unfortunately, back then, people didn't save their news stories, so he doesn't have copies of the reports. He says he wishes he did. He wishes, yeah. Chief William Walsh said he looked at police records from 1969, and there's very little activity on there. He said it's mainly one page from 4 to midnight, which is when he said that the reports would have came in. Said there's a young lady from the day shift that was found who was apparently missing. And then John Morrow complained that his beer cans is in his lawn. It's like, get those damn kids out of my lawn. And that's all. So the chief, William Walsh, who is, I believe, the chief now of this area, said this is bullshit. There is no reports. Or, I mean, there's another theory where the police were like, I am not writing in my actual book that people were claiming to see UFOs. He's like,
literally.
I ain't doing this shit. So it's very possible that they were just like, I am not writing that down.
Right. I did find those videos, by the way, so at some point, you'll have to come into the room that I'm in, but I've got 2 separate videos for you. That show potential UFOs being transported, Mr. You Believe in Aliens.
Gary LaVille, Berkshire County historian. Does most counties have a historian in their town?
No, county? I mean, like, I guess if we're talking, we live in Ohio, guys, and I've lived in Arizona, so if you hear us talk about these places, odds are we've been there and we know a little bit. But I know that in Belleville they have one, but I feel like Belleville's a historic town, so Belleville needs one. I know they have one in Wickenburg, Arizona, but Wickenburg, Arizona is also a historical town and needs one. And they have one in Boulder City, Nevada, but Boulder City is literally the town that built the Hoover Dam, so they need one. I don't think average towns have historians.
Okay.
It's normally historical towns that are like Belleville, Boulder City, you know what I'm saying? Like towns that have been around literally for the last.
Well, we don't know much about
years.
Berkshire County, so maybe it is a historic town.
Yes.
He took a trip to Berkshire Athenaeum, looked into the Berkshire Eagle, which was like the popular paper of the day.
Yeah.
Said no references in the Eagle for a month after the sightings. He suspects it didn't get reported and figures people thought it was a scam. An editor from those years he talked to and said, I just figured it was a bunch of hooey, so I didn't put them in. So there are people, so he didn't put it in the paper. So there is people that have literally said that we know about this. We heard about this when it happened.
We just didn't do anything with it.
We just figured that's bullshit.
It's bullshit.
Bullshit.
Y'all need to stop doing your drugs.
Eddie Galata. This is another guy this is your typical redneck that believes in everything. He's probably a flat earther too.
He's like, the earth is flat.
Yeah. Owner of
Vaccines
Galata's
cause
Gas.
autism, and
He said his father was Chief Santi Galato, or Galata. And he said his dad would get a lot of reports. Said they saw a flying object and that wasn't a damn airplane, and it was lit up. It was round and they were lit up in silver. They were slow and landing in fields. His father thought it was a bunch of baloney.
Yeah, and this is the same guy that says he went and sat out in the fields. Like, he would drive out there with his friends when he was underage, and they would drink and wait to see if they could see these UFOs that apparently existed in his fields. Yeah, they never saw anything.
Tommy said he stopped telling the story because people thought he was crazy. He said that when he was in high school, he was never getting laid because he was the crazy guy that told UFO stories.
Which, I mean, is completely fair.
Oh, come on.
And he looks like that, and he looks like Donald Trump with hair.
Fair. Said he drew a painting of that night. Melanie said she only told her sister and her boyfriend at the time. She said that they did believe her. Tom Reed said, I've always been open and honest and started getting in fights. He fought for this shit. He's like, yeah, I saw a UFO. I'll punch you in the face, motherfucker.
Which makes him sound more like the crazy redneck, I believe in aliens.
Although he's the one that seemed the most sane out of all these people.
Except for the fact that he was beating people up over something that he claimed to have seen.
He's defending his.
Listen, I'm gonna just. I guess this is the way I'll put it. If I saw something and nobody believes that I saw it, I'm not gonna go punching people in the face because they didn't see the same thing that I did. Therefore,
okay,
that's like
I think you're completely looking at this the wrong way. This is what more than likely happened. He told people about it. He was open and honest about it, and people called him names, made fun of him, threw things at him, called him a nerd, a dork, whatever, and he fought back. That is what probably happened. I don't think he was going around like, you don't believe me, I'm going to punch you in the damn face. Like, I don't see that being... What happened is they called him crazy, and he defended himself.
I mean, like I said, you... more about that I do because I didn't pay a whole lot of attention. Full disclosure.
Well, I mean, I didn't think he needed to explain that, but that's the way he said he was getting a lot of fights because people were essentially calling him, that he was lying or something. And he just
right.
When you see something, you believe it, and then people are telling you you're crazy. You get frustrated, you get angry, you get mad, and sometimes you punch people.
Sure.
Nancy, his mom, said she didn't like talking about it out of fear. She didn't want people calling her crazy and insane and everything.
Right, especially when she has 2 kids to support.
Oh, he also literally said people mocked him.
See, people what?
Mocked them. Said one dude one dude went up to his mother, got on a table, and said he showed his unidentified object in his pants.
Oh, geez.
Saying, here's something out of this world, Nancy.
Oh, my God.
Literally exposed himself to Nancy. That's how bad the mocking and people making fun of him was. Now do you understand the fighting?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Literally was like, thought that she was so crazy that he thought me going on a table and showing my willy whacker to a woman is perfectly okay.
I want to know who says the word willy whacker, my guy.
I just said it. I take it, claim it. Nancy said she sold the diner because people are dicks. People are dicks. Jane says that she never talked about it. And she also talks about the Navy pilots that reported UFOs recently. That's the video that I showed you at the beginning of the podcast. Tommy says that he claimed that he came forward to help people. He said, well, I don't understand why people would think I'm lying. He's like, I wanted to help people. I wanted people to know this story. So, people that have experienced similar things could understand it. And that was the Berkshire County UFO sightings from 1969.
Okay. Do you want to come in here and see the UFOs that I have being transported on trucks?
I will come see those. I don't think we really need the reaction video on that on the podcast because I'm not a non-believer. The whole idea was for you to see it.
Was that literally just so that you could tell the non-believer that UFOs exist and the U.S. government says so?
No, it's based on the story and stuff, but it's not like I need the convincing. I'll come watch them, but I don't feel like it's necessarily something that has to be on the podcast. So let's go to our next section.
Theories.
So, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on this episode?
I have no theories. on this one. This is becoming a reoccurring thing. I have no theories. I guess, here's my thing. If it was all in, if I hadn't seen some of these people and they looked completely sane, they looked like people that didn't have drug addictions, I'd be like, everybody was on a drug. And
every one of them was in their 60s or 70s, so they're old people.
It was completely explainable. 60s doesn't mean anything. There's literally a town in Arizona where a whole bunch of 60-year-old swingers get together and do drugs.
No, I'm just saying that they were a little worse for wear.
That's fine. I'm just saying, if it were a different case, I would say, hey, potentially something completely explainable happened, and it just so happened that all of these people on drugs saw the same thing because they happened to all be on the same drug and see the same explainable event.
Except for all these people were kids at the time. One of them was 10, 8. Sure, I guess it's possible these kids were doing drugs, but it's a lot of people that are doing drugs that are under the age of 12. Only two of them were actually, one of them said she stole cigarettes. She admitted to stealing cigarettes.
Right.
That's not a drug. And then the other one was an adult. So there was one adult in the situation.
Right.
But all the other ones were all kids. They were all minors. I think the oldest was, the one that stole cigarettes, I think she was 12 or 13 at the time.
Yes. So what are your theories then? My theory doesn't make any sense.
Motherfucking aliens. All of this seems very plausible to me. I don't really have any counter theories because
it's just fucking aliens in your head.
Yeah, it's aliens. But the weird thing is I don't know what it could be. Let's say all of these accounts are absolutely true. They are all fact. Okay? So there's where the
3 different versions of what this UFO looks like, though. Some people say it's silver, some people say they couldn't see the color, some people say they knew it was a saucer shape, some people say they couldn't tell the shape because they couldn't see the end from either side.
Yeah, well, none of them have a huge definitive look. The closest one was, I believe it was the one girl
shape.
That it was a disc shake. I think that was Tom Reed's mom, Nancy Reed, said that it was looked like a turtle shell. But the other ones mostly said that it was just huge, and the weird thing and the reason why it's hard to really if it was something that they said they saw from far, far away, that could be somewhat explainable. But the one woman said that she saw this huge thing and she couldn't see the end. So she didn't really have a big description because she was seeing it literally right there in her face. So these people were seeing these things at different distances, different things. And with the Tom and Nancy story, they said they also saw this orange thing. So that report right there shows that there was more than one of these things. And who's to say that every ship is going to be the same looking?
I guess. Maybe they're like cars. Everybody has a different one.
Yeah, why do aliens have to have the same exact ship? on everyone. Like, what we just assume because we can't come up with different ships all at once. We just come up with one ship, and everybody has the same damn ship. That's what's the likelihood of that? But
Like,
yeah, the
literally,
little brother said he saw this like little orange ball, ball, and it's possible that some people were seeing the main ship. Some of them were seeing like little ships coming out of like little probes coming out of their ship. You know,
right?
the little balls could be probes. They might not even be full ships. They just things to go grab things or something. I don't know. I'm not an alien, to your knowledge.
So, listen, if you're an alien, buddy, we're gonna have to stop this podcast because you are outing your whole all your brethren right now. They're gonna be pissed at you for making this podcast. They're like, "Fucking Steven.
Motherfucking bitch, we come in peace. We come in peace."
Okay, you come in pieces. I hear you.
No. Come in peace. 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 Peace.
Sure. Okay.
But yeah, so aliens. So we were talking about this, and we're down to one episode left. We have one more episode after this, and then until the next part of season 1, because they said that they are so far the rumor is that either fall or winter we're getting the second part of season 1 of Unsolved Mysteries. I believe we're getting 6 more stories.
So here's the thing. We need you guys to comment on our new YouTube channel when these go up, because when these go up, I'm going to move to Georgia, so I will no longer be in person, and these Zoom call interviews will become more common. So we need some to improve, and we also need to know what kind of cases you guys want to see.
So,
because we're thinking about doing some true cases like the Alyssa Turney case and the case and a couple of other ones that are just unsolved cases. Then, of course...
Which will be interesting.
Of course, Steven will also get to hijack the cases.
Yes, this won't be the first time I hijack. We will, yes, we will play. She will be doing some cases, which I don't know much about. To my knowledge, I mean, she might pick a case that I actually am familiar with. Who knows? But I know some of the ones she's talked about.
Right. The one of the ones I want to cover is the West Memphis 3 case, because even though they convicted 3 people and 3 people were in jail, and one of them was on death row, those people, basically the state has admitted that they were wrong by giving these people an Alfred plea. What an Alfred plea is it's a plea deal where you basically maintain your innocence, but you take a guilty plea. It's super weird. It's only happened in a couple of cases. And one of the other cases
don't spoil the stories.
Cover-ups. But the reason I want to cover that one is because even though they convicted people, the real killer has never been found. Because the 3 people that were convicted have come out and been like, no, we never did this. The police attacked us.
We will keep the same format where we look at unsolved cases, not ones that have been solved.
Unless there is a case that you guys really, really, really want us to cover. Like if you guys really, really wanted us to cover a case that you guys feel like was a really good story, like a really good mystery. Like the Gannon Stouch case is now basically solved. But if you guys wanted us to cover that because it was unsolved for so long, we'd be willing to do some of those, but you guys would have to tell us what you want.
Oh, I'm a sucker. So if you actually care enough to tell us what you want to hear, we'll bend to your will. I mean, we're whores in that way. We'll bend to your will. We'll give you what you want. But our intentions is to keep this as an unsolved. All our cases are going to be ones that are not solved. So our intentions, we're not going to do like famous serial killers like Jack the Ripper. Well, Jack the Ripper was never solved, so who knows? Maybe we'll do a Jack the Ripper story. Who knows? But we're going to stick with cases that are unsolved. So people that we know are are already guilty, our intentions are not to do that. Unless you say, but I really want to hear you guys talk about this.
Yes.
And we'll be like, yes, people care, and we'll do it.
Yes.
We're whores.
Now, here's the other thing. I need you guys to share my podcast as much as you can, because when we cover the Alyssa Turney case, we're trying to get Sarah Turney, who is Alyssa Turney's younger sister, involved, because Sarah Turney has most of the evidence. Sarah Turney has, and it comes directly out of her mouth, and we would really like to hear a lot of Sarah's stories.
We would love to have that.
So if you guys,
so we might have to wait on that
this,
one and give it time to see.
We want you guys to share this and share our Instagram page, Unsolved Comedies, on Instagram, and share the podcast on YouTube, and share it on Spotify. And if you guys
share it everywhere.
They're into true crime, go ahead and share it with them, because we're really trying to get this off a little bit more so that we can get an interview with her specifically, because I personally have done a lot of research into the case, and everything that I've done research on basically comes from Sarah Turney, and I feel like it would be so much more important to have her speak on it, as it was her sister that went missing, and she was old enough to remember when it happened.
Absolutely. I will also this will become a thing where I kidnap the podcast, but all of my stories, all my stories will be unsolved, like supernatural cases. Like next
He's
next
gonna become
season,
the new Ed and Lorraine Warren. It's gonna be cool.
Yeah, the next part of season 1, they've already announced there's gonna be a ghost case, and I can't wait. I love ghosts.
He's excited. He's really excited.
Yeah. But
yes,
when we're not doing cases from the show, I'm also going to do like the lore of vampires and talk about unsolved cases and like eyewitness reports.
We're going to talk about the Jersey Devil. We're going to talk about
Devil, Loch Ness Monster. You know, I'm going to take care of the unexplained weird ass phenomena.
Yep. And the weird things that happen that aren't explainable.
We won't have too many. We won't have too many, but we will have them here and there. We're going to focus mostly on, murder cases, missing cases, unsolved cases that are, more grounded in reality. But, vampires and shit. Come on now.
I mean, and to be fair, one of the things that we talked about, one of the things that we discussed was potentially looking into more the history. Like, yes, we know that vampires are a myth, but what started that legend? What started people to believe? Do we know what happened? And like we said, please suggest any unsolved cases to us in the comments on our YouTube channel, or you can message us on our Instagram, or you can message Steven on Twitter. Which is, what is your Twitter? Dragon Blazer Pro?
Dragon Blazer Pro on Twitter.
Dragon Blazer Pro on Twitter. You can message me on Instagram. My Instagram is Zaya_pseudo, and you guys can feel free to message me there about any cases that you guys would like covered, and we'll do our best to cover every case that anybody requests.
And we also have Dragon Blazer Productions Facebook page, Instagram page, and I just started putting podcasts on YouTube. This one will be on YouTube. I'm eventually going to convert all of my podcasts into YouTube, and you can subscribe to my channel, Dragon Blazer Productions.
Yes.
You get to see sideways Kazea for some reason.
Yes. I have a tripod, a little like baby tripod, and it's got like the way that my phone has to go in it has to go in a landscape viewing. So you guys will probably be seeing this unless I were to get like a computer that I could do Zoom calls on, but this is probably the format for now. Apologies there. But
we'll maybe look into it, see if I can help you out somehow. I'll figure something out.
Maybe we'll see.
But yeah, so thank you for listening to Unsolved Comedy.
As always, we'll see you guys next time.
And hopefully not on Unsolved Mysteries.
Yes. Please don't any of you guys go missing.
Don't get abducted by aliens.
Yes.
Night, everybody.
Good night.